With the death of her son in 1996, just days before his 24th birthday, Barbara falls into a black hole. Trevor was killed in a car accident in New York City, and Barbara was living wild in a log cabin in Harper's Ferry in the Blue Ridge Mountains of West Virginia.
When Trevor died, it was 5 a.m, and he'd been at a friend's house partying and was driving the friend's car and wanted to get back home to clean up for an interview later that morning for a third job he wanted, and fell asleep at the wheel.
Don't let him drive.
Why didn't Trevor's friends do that? Or did they? Maybe he took the car without asking and everyone else was asleep. And believe me, my brain is chugging on that one. I still don't know, may never know, if he was helped or comforted or alone.
The next chunk of months is blank, until she wakes up and finds herself living out of a 1974 Chevy Suburban, Blue Thunder, she calls it, and tent camping under redwoods 3,000 miles away in Big Sur, California.
Arriving late one morning on one of the Big Sur cliffs, near Garrapatta, I think, I looked at the ocean with my hand shielding my eyes from the sparkle, my work boots planted on the sand and ice plant, a big old car behind me filled with my last Brooklyn cats, a couple of changes of clothes, and very little else, and thinking, wow, everything I came across country with and have access to is on me and behind me, and that's it. My Rottweiler, Rodin, was beside me, the two of us enraptured, and it hit me like a blast, shocked me so hard in the truth of it. I had nothing around me that I counted on, no voices of friends, no destination of comfort, no job, no money to speak of, and it was liberating. I spent my first 2 years out there, living in my car and pup tents, under redwoods and in fantastic scenery, driving in 20 directions and thrilled at mudslides, storms, floods, exquisite skies, gold eagle nests, all of it. I ached at the night skies, limitless and welcoming, a friend in the trebles of millions and not at all forbidding. I'd pull the easel out of the back of the Suburban and the paint box from under the front seat, set up roadside, and get to work. I did a lot of small paintings, many pen and inks. Of course, I was in an entirely different frame of mind then, or more precisely, mindless. I don't know actually how I lived through the next 2-3 years, but apparently I did. When I could lift myself from nightmares and self-pity and fear and the fact of living in the car, I had not felt that kind of independence in maybe 30 years or more. Totally free. Isn't it odd?
But the road back to sanity and self-sufficiency will not be a cakewalk. Freedom brings possibility, and possibility involves struggle.
I also, and I know it, am going to have to really work through, at some point, the crush of devastating loss at the end of the 90s that coming here contained and fell so hard and deeply on me. My son died suddenly. My sweetheart died suddenly. Septicemia in New York, far away, 2 days, gone. And my Rottweiler, Rodin, with me and gone. All between January of 96 and August of 97. And me, barely alive, fighting for it. I collapsed emotionally and physically and couldn't recognize my face or body. I started a waitress job in Carmel and used to go to the Holman Ranch pool every morning, sometimes nights. It wasn't heated, but it was in the sun on a cliff beyond the big house, next to an orchard and woods of live oak, eagles and condors and hawks overhead. Blue tile, big pool, Amazing place, and no one else ever used it but me. I'd fall into the water and try to swim a bit, then pull myself onto the edge and lie there. Getting up was a 5-minute project of rolling over and pulling on what was handy and exhausting. I'd head for the restaurant and fake it. I couldn't understand or believe what had happened to me. I'd been so strong always. It was very frightening and despairing. Eventually, my strength returned, forced myself into using my body way beyond comfort levels. The focus of waitressing long hours in busy places helped me survive. One thought from all that was, why am I so desperate to return to what felt normal? If all in and around me has changed, why go back to what I had already lived through in life? Could I adjust, accept, embrace the altered state?
She does adjust. Challenge begets challenge, and she endures. But crafting a new normal takes more than just time, insight, determination. It also takes luck.
I was at a vineyard Christmas in Carmel Valley, talking to a woman. She lived in Big Sur. She said she knew a place for rent maybe coming up, but couldn't say who it belonged to because they were famous. I can do famous, I said. I almost am myself. And I knew it was the Jardines. Al Jardine from the Beach Boys. Everybody knew where they lived. She said call her in a week. She never returned my calls. I looked constantly on Craigslist. I was producing a radio show, making $650 a week. Big Sur rentals started at $2,500. I emailed a realtor. I wrote, I've seen your ads for 6 months now, and these beautiful places stay empty. If anyone needs a responsible, fully employed tenant, let me know. I can manage $1,500. He wrote back, sorry, never less than $2,000. Then the next day he wrote again. There is a place, a small cabin on Pfeiffer Beach, $1,850. I talked to Al. He's expecting your call. I nearly passed out. I looked up Jardine on the internet. There are photos on a website because of the recording studio called Red Barn. I decided I couldn't miss the opportunity, even if it was a high-priced shed, and called. Al was annoyed and coolish, and I ignored it, and we made an appointment for early Sunday afternoon next. I went bearing gifts, brought a copy of The Gandhi Dancer, my collection of short stories, and a bouquet of purple iris for Al, and colorful ranunculus for Marianne, and drove there trembling, so excited, willing to take on anything. Sure, it wouldn't work. But the sun was shining. It was December and 80 degrees. Al was on the roof of one of the little buildings when I got there and met his wife, Marianne, who shouted up, Al, get off the roof. It's okay. Come down and meet Barbara.
Hello.
She showed me the place. I looked at all the little buildings and sheds we approached and thought, well, no, that's their house. It must be the goat shack over there. Then it was that cabin.
That cottage and that building over there, and then the red barn where Al's studio is.
This is the house for rent? Yes. Oh my God, every square inch was charm. When I got home, I had no idea of what it really looked like and couldn't remember the size or layout of anything, except I was in love with it. Al and I got on very well. I knew some people he knew. I sang a song about something. I talked about myself. I loved all the animals who came over. I was in some kind of cloud of transport to another life. In every sentence, I anticipated a reply of, oh well, then you won't do it all. It never happened. I said, look, Al, I smoke. He turned away and held his head and thought a minute and turned back and said, I hate smoking. I take it you love tobacco. Yes. Okay, you can smoke inside the house. Unheard of. And Al, I said next, it's worth every cent. But for me, the rent's too high. And Al said, well, how much can you pay? So we negotiated. It went from $18.50 to $15.50, and I do the feeding of the animals twice a day. Then I said, that's fantastic, thank you. But I need a month. The place where I am expects 30 days notice, and they've been good to me. Okay. And Marianne said, that's good. We're still painting the bedroom. What color would you like? I met the house painters inside. They were the Dalai Lama's documentary film crew. True, really. I wrote a check for the first month. More unbelievable. Nah, we don't need a deposit, forget it. Al and Marianne left on tour almost immediately, and there I was, alone, on 80 wild acres, with one storm coming in after the other, with a dozen animals to care for, this completely incompetent Brooklynite on the horse/pig front. It was fantastic. When I told them I was moving on, it was met with absolute shock. I don't think anyone ever left them before. By the time I'd left, every family member had shouted at me at least once. Wilbur the pig had charged me. Each horse bitten me. The parrot had attacked, and the dogs snapped, the cats scratched. What a time I had.
In Al and Marianne's idyllic cottage, Barbara has all the while been furiously painting and writing, with plans to open her own gallery. But ever alert to new and life-enhancing possibilities, an irresistible opportunity one day lands on her doorstep, and she's off on a fresh, new adventure.
I was, absurdly, a cameraman's assistant on Survivor Africa, the CBS show. I was the one who carried most of the 11 aluminum suitcases lined with black foam cutouts to hold the equipment. And I was expected to know what to do with that big white reflecting thingy so that the subject was lit. Hoo boy, I got scolded so much. I could hardly unfurl or furl it. There were all these funny gaps in my social intelligence I kept having to deal with. Me, who lived on the cutting edge in New York City for 27 years. But then, off-grid, in a cabin in Blue Ridge, 2 or 3 more struggle years in California. I may as well have fallen asleep under an oak tree and grown a beard. So much had changed, so much. Then when I went off on the Survivor Africa thing in 2001, I'd been 2 years plus without a TV. And it was the first time I'd been on planes in 20 years. The cameraman for whom I worked looked at my orange clogs and said, I hope you've got some other shoes. We have to run through LAX. Upon landing, he handed me his credit card and said, rent a car over there, a this and that one, models I'd never heard of. I'll meet you back here. Lucky I didn't pass out. I'd never rented a car in my life or had a credit card. Later, we're driving down somewhere, and he hands me his cell phone and says, call LA and tell them we're here and we'll be at Hoosie's at 9. The number is in the memory, the blue button. Well, my eyesight was 1,000% better then, but still not good enough to see little buttons on R2-D2 in the dark. Then Harrison Ford called him. They were neighbors in Jackson Hole and buddies, and Harrison was going through his divorce. No kidding. I got paid $100 a day, plus all expenses, 3 meals, hotels, travel, etc. It was fabulous. I just loved it. When I flew back to Carmel Valley, I got a flurry of phone calls about my novel I'd sent out to numerous publishers and agents. I got a New York City agent who was in love with my writing and sure he could sell noise fast. He mailed me a 2-year contract. I signed it. I was over the moon. It was early August 2001. Well, of course, the whole world changed after September 11th.
Against all odds, Barbara has managed the seemingly impossible. In a handful of years, she has reassembled the shards of her life. And now, once again, creatively, she is flourishing. Publishing books, including illustrating a children's book for Jardine. Venturing over to Yosemite to write and paint in a gold miner's shack. Opening her own art gallery in Big Sur. Barbara is back. But can she support herself as an artist? We will see in the next video, Woman Lit by Fireflies.